You're listening to a Roddenberry podcast.
3 episodes already. If you're playing the home game with us, that's where we are. It's Monday, it's 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern, and we're here and you're here, so that must mean it's time for Mission Log Live. I'm John Champion.
And I'm Holly Amos, and you were in the right place, obviously. We're back to talk about the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery, Jinaal. So click the Zoom link or give us a call at 669-900-6833 because we want to hear from you.
Well, like Holly just said, join us. Don't be shy with your opinions and your insights and your burning questions. Earl is here patiently holding down the Earl Green Room, so why not make his night and give him a call? Again, just click on the Zoom link or give us a call, 669-900-6833. You'll keep me honest. There we go. Yeah.
You guys will meet Earl. And in the meantime, we're going to say hi to you in the chat.
Yes, we are. And I'm going to try to fix this where I can see both chats at the same time. I do have a report that we have achieved a Paulfecta even before we went on the air. So that was very exciting. Glad to see all the Pauls have made it. There's Jem, there's Brett, there's Scott Palm. How's it going? There's Dom, there's Alan. Let's see, who else? There's Jane. Great to see you. And Matthew. Oh, excellent. All the way from Tokyo. And there's, let's see, John Cooley. Great. Good to see you, John.
Yay,
birthday recently for John Cooley, I believe. There's Elizabeth. There's Casey. Heather. So many people chiming in right now. I'm going to try my hardest to go back and say, I didn't see Bob in there. Do we...
Yeah, he's here. Yeah,
okay.
I saw him.
Right.
I saw him earlier.
All right, I just wanted to make sure. All right, hi, Holly's dad, and anybody who joins us, whether you're Holly's dad or not, you're welcome here to the show. So, Holly, why don't you let people know where they can find all of the Roddenberry podcasts?
Well, you should follow them all at podcast.roddenberry.com and make sure to also like and subscribe to our content on youtube.com/Roddenberry Entertainment, like the video you're watching right now.
Yes, just like it. And big shout out, speaking of Roddenberry podcasts, huge, well-deserved shout out to our very own Norman and Earl on genealogy. And they recently shared with the world Gene Roddenberry's first ever series pitch. That is a show about Sam Houston called The Man from Texas. And our friends over at Screen Rant published an excellent article about their work. And you should all listen into Genealogy at podcast.roddenberry.com or at missionlogpodcast.com. And please share that with everyone, because everybody needs to see this. Holly, I mean, you are instrumental actually in helping us track down these documents as the archivist here.
Yeah, it's really weird to find some of it and then to like sort of like imagine what Gene was thinking as you're like, and a lot of these things have like his handwritten notes and stuff on it. So it's like being transferred back in time.
It truly is. And to see what was going on in his mind a full 6 years before even, putting down the first words of what Star Trek was, and doing the deep dive into research about Sam Houston. And I thought the article on Screen Rant and, of course, what Norman and Earl did was a great job of connecting the dots. Like, where are the little glimmers of what we will see show up later in Star Trek? So please check it out. It is so good. And that's a piece of history that nobody has seen until now. It was a pitch written in 1957. Obviously didn't get made. Now's the first time you can see it. So check it out, missionlogpodcast.com or podcast.roddenberry.com to download Genealogy. So, and Jane actually saying, love Genealogy, so insightful. And yes, it is. So, Holly, before we went on the air tonight, you also mentioned that there was some news to discuss. So you said you're showing off.
And I'm showing off my shirt.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is that Strange New Worlds has already been renewed for a season 4 before they even air season 3. They just wrapped season 3.
Yeah.
And they're already renewed for a season 4. However, we got a bad piece of news.
Yeah, Lower Decks. We're going to miss Lower Decks. Season 5 is going to be their last. which is
Yeah.
unfortunate because everybody loves it so much. But
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense to
no.
me at all. At all. Getting rid of Prodigy didn't make any sense to me. And from what I understand, Lower Decks has a bigger audience, a wider appeal. And I would have hoped that there was something indicated about a future beyond season 5. Of course, season 5 is a little ways away still.
Mhm.
So we've got some time before we
Fall.
get to that, and anything could happen between now and then. But yeah,
It's bizarre to me from the standpoint of the shows that have either been in limbo or been canceled have been shows that are bringing in new fans. So Prodigy
yeah,
is a children's show and it's bringing in children to keep the franchise alive. And for Lower Decks, I feel like that's an entirely different demographic of people that it's bringing in too, because it keeps us happy as hardcore fans because there's so many little references. You're like, oh, but you don't have to understand those references or in jokes if you're a new watcher. So
yeah.
it's bizarre to me that those are the two that they chose to
It's
give the
really
axe to.
strange. By the way, John Cooley in the chat stating what needs to be stated. Watch our shows, folks. Watch them repeatedly. Tell your friends to watch them. Yes, that's what it takes. And I do feel like Lower Decks not only had the audience, had the people watching it, but also such goodwill. You know, I remember being in a room in Vegas, and Larry was kind of asking people in the audience, tell me about your favorite shows and what shows were you least excited about when they were announced, but then what shows changed your mind. And I think every hand went up when he brought up Lower Decks as the show that changed their minds. So here were people who were skeptical about a new animated series or skeptical about Star Trek doing comedy, but then every single hand went up because they loved that show. So it's hugely disappointing. By the way, John Arminio in the chat saying, as much as I mourn the loss of Lower Decks, I never thought it would get past season 3, so I'm grateful for the glorious cartoon Trek that we got. Heck, I was skeptical about the series from the beginning, echoing what we heard a lot in Vegas that year. The fact that I got so many wonderful episodes is something I will be forever thankful for. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I guess there's a silver lining if you only expected 3 and you got 5. Yay!
Yeah. But you know what? Keep watching it. Tell your friends to watch it. If they haven't watched it yet, the season 4 Blu-ray just came out, so you can show your support that way as well. And of course, there is Lower Decks merchandise. And I believe Ben Robinson today said that there was more coming. Like there is a lot being developed still. So buy the merch and share it with people and let them know that you love that show. Hopefully we'll get more. It's happened in Star Trek in the past. Shows that have been canceled have come back. So we'll see. All right. With that, by the way, hi, Tracy. Good to see people saying hi in the chat there. Let us go along to our recap because there are so many fantastic callers lined up already. So let's get into Discovery Season 5, Episode 3, Jinaal, with a little recap. The story for our beloved Discovery crew breaks down into a few categories. There's the accelerated relationship between Saru and Tarina. There's a trip to Trill in search of the next clue that leads to the progenitor technology. There's the delicate matter of Adira and Gray reconnecting after a long time away. Oh, and there's whatever the hell is going on with Discovery's new first officer. At Starfleet HQ, Saru is settling into his new job, but right away his proximity to Tarina is causing a little bit of a backlash. One of the president's own advisors, Duvan, makes it clear to Saru that he thinks his presence is compromising Tarina's decision-making. Naturally, Saru is thrown off by this accusation, and he goes to Tarina. She tells him that nothing will stop them from making their engagement announcement, and he better get used to the idea of her doing what's right for herself personally, as well as professionally. As far as conflicts go, it's a charming one, and Saru is relieved that they are both back on the same page so quickly. Meanwhile, Discovery arrives at Trill to face a riddle put in place some 800 years ago by Jinaal Bix. He's the match for the latest clue that they found, but Jinaal is long gone. Lucky for them all, that Bix has been carrying around Jinaal's memories, and his consciousness can be temporarily bestowed upon a willing volunteer, in this case, Dr. Culber. Jinaal leads Burnham and Book into a remote canyon where he hid the next clue some 800 years ago. The three talk a little along the way about the importance of the progenitor technology, and Jinaal shares that the scientists who investigated it 800 years ago hid their tracks and the tech once they realized just how dangerous it was. And another kind of danger finds them, the Itronach, a giant quadruped that shoots flaming barbs and is partially invisible. It is indeed terrifying, and Book even gets injured, but in the process, they discover that the Itronach are just protecting their eggs. It was also kind of a test. Jinaal wanted to make sure that he was giving the next clue to people who could show some empathy toward life in all its forms. They pass, and they get the clue, literally and figuratively, which means that Jinaal can peace out of Culber's noggin, and Bix can finally go off for one last swim in the symbiont tadpole pool. This whole time on Trill, Adira and Gray are reunited, and they come to the mutual conclusion that they've grown apart. One life in Starfleet and another life on Trill just aren't conducive to maintaining deep ties. Don't worry, though, they're both doing what they like, and they're totally still friends. Speaking of friends, the Discovery crew definitely get along with each other. They've been through a lot, but the newest member of the crew, Burnham's choice for First Officer Rayner, isn't exactly warming up to the rest of them. He's surly and combative and grilling everyone as a kind of boss hazing ritual. Tilly calls him out on it, and maybe, just maybe, some of her criticism sinks in when he's sitting in the bar watching everyone else get along and genuinely like each other. So all's well. Discovery got ahead of Maul and Locke, except, wait a minute, just when Adira is saying goodbye on Trill, a mysterious hooded figure, hidden among many, quietly places a device on their sleeve. It was Maul, you guys. Maul put the thing on Adira. The end. Holly. By the way, thanks for indulging me to divide it up into. I just figure that's the way to do it. We want to make these and get to the comments right away, and you just got to break it down into little,
I liked your conclusion. The conclusion made me laugh. It's Maul.
It's Maul. Who else could it be? Although it was one of those throughout the episode, I was watching it and thinking like, this is entirely too easy for them. Because
how did she get there?
I guess we'll find out. Maybe. You think?
Nah.
No?
I feel like they would have more security than that, especially given the circumstances.
Well, and remember the Trill G, what's his name? I forgot his title, but G.
Guardian.
Like, Guardian G. He was like, oh yeah, they're no match for Trill security. Well, clearly that's not the case.
I mean, but also in one of the first episode, was that the first episode? When they kill Fred, we were also questioning, like, he's gone on for 600, 700, 800. How long has this android been functioning in something that is presumably dangerous, in a field that is dangerous? And then he just... So I feel like they're trying to give us clues as to how good these two are at what they're doing. But I also don't think that we've seen the behind the scenes of what they're doing to believe that.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, we're just seeing the end result. Like, we don't see, and hopefully we'll be able to see how they're pulling all of this off, because my thought process is like, they haven't earned that.
No, I agree. And I kind of, I wondered from the very beginning of episode 1, where you do this kind of present day and then flashback to what was happening a few hours before to fill in that. I feel like we'll get another one of those with Maul and Locke, and they'll try to fill in some of that stuff. But I felt like it was just too easy, especially when they assumed Beta Z first. And then very much like Salat, they're digging in the wrong place. They had to then go, they then went to Trill to go because that was the right clue. Yeah.
To be fair, though, somebody who's hosting a symbiont is the one that was like, "Oh, it's Trill."
Yeah. Right.
So if
right.
it was going to be anybody, that's who it should have been.
True. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to our first caller and see what is on people's minds tonight. Chris, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hey guys, doing good. Good to see you again, Holly. Yeah, I like this. I think we're chugging along. I think the treasure hunt gimmick is actually doing it favors in that you are getting nice little digestible chunks. Like each week is a clue. Whereas a lot of times in prior seasons you had one story that just kind of got arbitrarily broken up into 10 or 12 pieces. In this it's like I don't feel like I'm missing anything. Like I get a clue, I can wait a week, I'll get another clue. And we can keep doing this until we find the Holy Grail or whatever. So I think, like, structurally, that's doing favors for them, and I'm enjoying it more than I have other seasons.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know. I felt like, well, I obviously I was not on last week. It was Norman and Holly, and I talked to Norman later, and I said, okay, look, my initial impression was I hate the idea that the mystery box is literally a mystery box. Like that's just going to drive me insane.
And
However,
we're gathering clues to a puzzle, and there's a poem, and it's a riddle.
It was really, it irked me to no end. However, by the time I got to the end of episode 2 and then eased into Jinaal this week, I felt like, okay, but if we're doing that, at least we're taking time. Like you just said, one episode a week, presumably, and then you've got a little time to spend with the characters and slow the pace down. Because when they started with, riding a starship like a bucking bronco and flying through a force field into the bridge, and I was just like, all right, I'm
crashing ships.
I texted Norman, right? And I was like, I had to stop after 15 minutes and just come back like 5 days later. I couldn't finish it because it was too much. But now I'm much happier with the pacing and that we're getting something a bit more reasonable, Yeah. What else do you pick up about this episode?
No, I will just say very quickly, though, I don't mind the puzzle box as much, because to me it's like, we know what's in the puzzle box. It's the progenitor machine, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like the burn or the DMA where it's like, what is the thing? We know what it is. Like, so that's not bothering me as much as it has in the past. But I do also I like that the theme of the Raynor episode, or the Raynor arc, is man is incapable of reading the room. That's always a good story for me. I love that. I also thought he and Mary had really good chemistry. Like, I was not expecting that, but they work really well together. So I'm curious to see, I hope we see more of that thread as she liaises with him or whatever to teach him how to be a nice person.
She was great. And I wasn't crazy about the way they brought her into the first episode, but then I thought how clever now to have her in this sort of unofficial capacity so she can actually be the one to talk to him the way that she is. I thought it was brilliant. And the words of wisdom that she shares with him at the end, it's nothing that shouldn't be obvious to us all, but it was just so well delivered and he needed to hear it. So
do you guys think he's you think he's neurodivergent?
Or just a complete ass?
I think he's neurodivergent. One of the things that I wrote in my notes is Raynor seems obsessive. I like that. I understand that. Because I obsess over things too, to the point where I ignore everything else.
I think it's definitely a possibility. That's not something that had crossed my mind personally, but I definitely see the argument there. I can definitely see it, yeah. Also, I think part of the obsessiveness is it seems that Maul and Locke are kind of his white whale. It seems he's been chasing them for the better part of his career. So I think a little, but I could definitely see the neurodivergent take. I wouldn't be surprised if that was coming down the pike.
I mean, I like that Tilly sized him up. I liked her 22 words about him. Sorry, he was 20. Yeah, she had 20 words and then stopped herself when she.
Well, that's 20 words.
Yes, yeah. Great bit of dialogue there. I mean, here's a guy who probably his whole career has been like that. For whatever reason, maybe had a better relationship with his other crews. We're not really sure, but I would guess maybe not. I mean, there are a lot of prickly Starfleet captains. Let's look at Shaw. Let's look at Jellicoe.
But was he? I don't think. I would imagine that he wasn't this prickly with his own crew. And something Tilly said in her 20 words was like, "You're acting like this because you got demoted."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So that's why I wonder. I mean, he's just a jerk. By the way, Scott Palm backed me up. Total ass. That is, yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe there will be some other underlying thing here, but I think maybe his arc here is just to figure out how to take it on the chin, how to be compatible and cooperative with other people, because that is a sign of leadership, not just showing up and telling everybody what to do and, grudgingly having to treat the other people around you like they're human beings. So I guess we'll see.
No, yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, that also ties into Gray's monologue at the end, right? About you have to work to connect with people, you have to reach out, you have to do all this, which I really like because that's something they've actually, having done my full rewatch before this, that's something they do a lot, that comes up a lot in the other seasons, is this idea that you have to reach out, you have to make the effort. And I think when Discovery succeeds, it is often working on variations of that theme. Look at the end of season 4 about don't blow them up, talk to them, So I think that's a theme that we're going to hopefully see explored more, because that's obviously something that the writers' room likes to talk about.
Can I ask you a little more specifically, and I'm also going to kick that over to Holly as well. You said that you liked the end. Did you
Gray's?
Did you like the message, or did you like the dramatic moment? Did you like what was it about that kind of coda that you put on the episode?
I liked his speech. Not the fact that he's in the Trill Hall with all the pools. That was neither here nor there. I liked the words of his speech about doing the work, and you have to connect with other people, and that you have to reach out. Yeah, it was the words of the speech, not so much the moment that he was in specifically.
Holly?
I mean, I don't disagree with the message, but I felt like the speech was unnecessary from the standpoint of, I feel like Star Trek fans are capable of getting that message without it needing to be a character speech.
That's kind of how I feel. I appreciated the message. I felt like it was a moment of telling rather than showing.
Right.
But
they did show. They did show.
Yeah, the episode up to that point had shown very well. And then I felt like I was trying to understand the reason for it, and if it's because, okay, these two characters have now grown apart, so presumably we're not going to see Gray again. So this was to give them a moment, but it felt a little weird. Like, if we're going to do the goodbye to this character, is that the best way to serve that character, is to do the speech that recaps everything that we've already hopefully absorbed from the episode. So,
I mean, the only thing that from a production standpoint that I thought after the fact was it gave them an opportunity to move around and do a little whatever they were doing, saying goodbye ceremony, and then you see Maul. So
right.
That's the only thing that I could think of, was it gave them the opportunity to work Maul in without us seeing her, and then suddenly she's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's some of that. It's some of, you get to do the nice little montage of everyone else and, wrap it up in a bow. I do agree that, if this is the last time we see Gray, that's maybe not super great. But I still liked the theme and the idea that he was conveying, even if maybe that wasn't like the last time we have to see him. But no, I like his speech. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
But fair enough. Fair enough. By the way, Mike Richards, Captain Mike in the chat, saying $100 million, says we love Rayner as much as we love Todd Stashwick by the end of the season. And he calls it the One Tree Hill character arc. Bring everyone on as a villain. So we'll see. We'll see. Chris, we got so many callers lined up tonight. Any final thought? We'll jump to our next caller.
No, I mean, I really like it. One fun little detail I did notice, the puzzle box, it has 5 pieces, and you'll notice during Jinaal's Culber's speech, he says there were 6 of them, but one of them died. So there were 5 left after they had accessed the machine. That's why there's 5 pieces, which I thought, oh, nice little bit of continuity there.
Nice.
Good job, team.
Very good. Very good. Excellent. Thank you so much, Chris. Always a pleasure. And I believe, okay, this is great. Our next caller.
We have a child.
We do.
A child in uniform.
Yes.
The new captain here.
Ah!
I've been demoted to captain's chair.
Brandon, welcome to the show.
Thank
wow,
you.
This is awesome.
He looks shocked.
He doesn't see a lot of moving pictures, I think, so he's trying to figure out what's going on with you guys.
Well, do both of you have comments on the week's episode, or are we just going to leave it all to you?
Well, I'll just start, but he's not very polite, so he might just blurt something out, and we'll see if it makes any sense. But this has been kind of interesting for me watching the sort of like Indiana Jones style or National Treasure style thing. I'm still
Oh, National Treasure. I didn't even think of that.
I'm still very on the fence about how I feel about it. But one thing that sort of made me laugh, and I don't think on purpose, but I always find it funny when like the security for something, like you hid something behind a riddle, right? Like there's a reason that to get into my safe deposit box, I use a key and not a question that anyone could figure out the answer to, like a math problem. And because I was watching this and I was like, wait. So the idea here, I mean, later we find out this test to determine if someone's worthy, but you know, even the part where, well, she'll only speak to you if you can answer this riddle about the other riddle that you would have already solved to have gotten here in the first place, because if you didn't know the 4th verse, you sure didn't know the 5th verse. So you wouldn't be at Trill. And I was thinking to myself, like, okay, the next clue, I think they might have to present a book report or something.
I like that. Well, I've always been told that the most secure form of password protection is something you have and something you know. Mm-hmm. So there's got to be the component of figuring the thing out, but there also has to be the component of the physical thing that you have, and presumably that is the device we're putting together here, all the pieces that go together.
Yes.
Burnham, I thought, brought up a very good point, which is like, well, if the thing's over there, why don't we just go get the thing?
Yeah.
But Jinaal was like, no. We designed it where you have to do all the steps to get there. But so far, it's just getting from one place to another. It hasn't been a piece of knowledge other than maybe reinforcing, okay, this thing is really dangerous and we hit it for a reason.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I really liked how Wilson Cruz played Jinaal. Like Jinaal. That was a lot of fun for him, clearly.
That was a big note of mine. I said here, Wilson Cruz is wonderful in this episode. Wow. Not only does he get to play someone entirely different, but I love that final scene with him in the bar. He has changed, and his moment of reflection was so awesome. That really worked for me on the rewatch of this. Just immediately going back and rewatching, I thought, okay, his performance, outstanding.
He changed his like swagger. He changed his voice. He changed obviously he's an actor and he should be able to do that, but it was super impressive. The only thing that I was disappointed in was when he goes into that whole scenario, they're telling him like, this is not going to be like anything you've ever experienced before. And I was like, what is his consciousness doing when like Jinaal is at the forefront? And then when he comes out of it, he goes, I don't have the words. And I'm like, oh, I wanted to know though. Can you? And then when they're in the bar, I thought that he was going to actually maybe have the words at that point because he'd done a little bit of reflection. And so when he was talking to Michael, I was like, oh, here it is. He's going to tell us what it was like. And then he didn't again. And I was like, I just want to know.
See, I felt like you. I felt like you. Like we were going to have that conversation, but I'm glad that we didn't, because I thought it was so much more profound to say, all right, here's the situation where I don't know. I don't understand. Am I okay with being somebody who doesn't know, who just can't get an answer to this? And it might take me my whole life and I still may not know, because that then launched that very cool conversation about what I thought was just kind of fundamental to how Star Trek works, which is asking these big questions and going out and trying to find answers. Like starting with the premise that the universe is understandable, we just have to go do the work. And I thought that was, it was deeply touching. See? Exactly.
He agrees.
He agrees.
He's deeply insightful.
Well, Brandon, any other thoughts tonight before we say goodnight?
Just one, and that is that I loved the exchanges between Saru and Tarina. At first, I was like, because Star Trek hasn't always done a great job with healthy relationship modeling, or modeling it like it wasn't written by writers in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know.
Keiko.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, exactly. But for this to not go through a bunch of crazy hijinks, but just have her tell him, this is, you don't need to protect me, be honest with me, and for him to be like, oh, I'm sorry, and have like a really good like example of apologizing. Thank you. Very good example of apologizing, and then everybody moves on, and like with increased respect and open communication and that commitment to each other. I was like, that's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
So good. So good. Well, thank you so much. Take
Thank
care
you.
of that baby.
Yeah, will do. I think it's time.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, both of you, and we'll see you next time, okay?
See you next time, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Hey, it is just past the bottom of the hour. Holly, why don't we very quickly take care of a little bit of business here, and then we'll jump to our next callers. We got Mark standing by. I believe we've got John Arminio, we got Alan, and we got Tim waiting. We will definitely get to everybody, and if you want to call in, now is your chance to do so. You hit the link, chat with Earl, talk to us. But in the meantime, just want to thank everybody who has been supporting us on Patreon, and the lineup in Patreon has grown. You don't just right. So you don't just go there and you see all the text message, and that's fun too. And I love it. People leave pictures in there, and that we chat about all kinds of stuff. But the lineup, if you want to have this kind of live chat almost every day of the week, there's Babylon 5 chat with the Zocalo. There's the Disco Discord, which Heather is running. There's the International chat, which is coming up again this Sunday morning, 3 a.m. Pacific time. I don't make it for that, but thank you, Matthew, for headlining that. There is Twilight Zone chat, I believe, every other week. There's Kon-Tiki every Wednesday night. And of course, this Mission Log After Dark, off right now until we come back with season 5 of Voyager. But Holly, you've been around for some of that. I mean, there's a lot happening there in Discord.
I mean, every time I log on, and to be fair, like I haven't been as involved as maybe I should be. But every time I log on, I feel like there's a new thing, and I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah. Right. And we'll get to this cool new thing here in just a moment. But I do want to give a shout out here, because in the chat, Heather is mentioning Disco Discord Wednesdays at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. So that is your time to go check out that. And it's not quite the same prepared format the way we do tonight. It's, everybody hanging out in the same chat together, but live video. It's a good way to do it. Private in there. It's not being broadcast or recorded. So join. So yeah, and you do that through patreon.com/missionlog. Costs you as little as $1 a month. and you get to hang with us.
Yeah.
So yeah, what could be better, right? Patreon.com/mission log. And with that said, we were talking about new things, potentially new things. Mark, I'm going to call you out because you floated the idea out there, and it may happen by popular demand, a James Bond chat.
Yes.
Yeah. All 27 movies. You could even look, you could expand a little bit. You could do the Barry Nelson, the original TV version. So there's a lot that you could do there. Oh, wait, he's getting props. Oh, wait. Okay. All right. You just brought Mark. Welcome to the show. You just brought the stack of Blu-rays.
And DVDs, all my Bond movies.
Nice.
I am ready for the hosting. I own all, but never say never again. So
I
am
love it.
ready.
Do you have the original Casino Royale?
You mean the 1967 one?
The comedy, yeah.
Yes. This little one right here.
There we
See,
go.
I don't have
Yes.
that, but I do have Never Say Never Again. So we offset each other.
Music by Burt Bacharach. So that, oh, by the way, John Cooley giving a shout out to doing MASH chat. And I think that is
Ooh.
not a bad idea either. There's so much of it that we might have to pick and choose. So,
Oh, now the MASH song is in my head. You just say it.
Yeah. How could it
It's
not
in there.
be? Mark, what is on your mind tonight about this week's disco?
I wanted to come in and talk a little bit about. I haven't watched the episode, but I looked for pictures for spoilers, and I just wanted to talk about some of the design aesthetics from a neurodivergent perspective, since I wrote my master's thesis in community planning on it, and I just wanted to say, looking at the pictures, I'm not looking forward to watching the Starfleet Academy roundtable that they have from the table design of how they've designed the room where they're Saru and other ones are around that table, because the lighting from a neurodivergent perspective is horrible.
Oh,
Does it feel like an Apple store to you?
A little bit, but the biggest problem is the glare. Glare is a huge issue for people with autism and some elements of neurodiversity. And I'm just looking at the table from the picture, and my senses are just screaming at me. So when I actually have a chance to catch up, but since I'm still need to watch season 3 and 4 of Discovery, I'm behind. I was in a master's program.
Fair.
Yeah, it's done it, and then their chairs, they don't look like they have any things on the bottom for soundproofing, so that if you pull them across, because sound sensitivity can also be an issue. Where decibels for a neurotypical person, 70 decibels is where sound starts to bother them. For a person with autism, with a certain other condition, it's 40 decibels of sound. So I would hate to see the screeching of the chairs if they're having true, neurodiversity in the future, which I think they'll be. But they do have some neutral gray/gray colors there, which are one of the 5 or 6 autism-friendly colors, and you're also neurodiverse. Certain aspects of neurodiversity also like these colors. So that's neutral gray, pink, orange, blue, just like Holly's shirt, and green, like forest green.
Maybe that's why orange is my favorite color. I'm neurodivergent as well. Yeah. I have an anxiety disorder. So I don't believe that I'm autistic, but I am on the scale of.
There's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, there's a lot of crossover. Yeah, maybe that's why I like. I didn't know that. Maybe that's why I like orange so much.
Mark.
Oh, sorry, John.
Oh, and I would say, as you're saying this, I'm kind of thinking through, like, when we get to the end of the season, might be nice to have a designer on the show to talk about how they put this together, because I'm always interested in sort of competing visions of the future. And sometimes like this, or, you're talking about glare, and I think that, the 2009 J.J. Abrams Star Trek must be just the worst example of that. Yeah, everywhere, right? But then there's also this vision of the future where things are very comfortable and warm and cozy. Look at Captain Pike's quarters on the Enterprise, the Strange New Worlds. Right. I mean, it's beautiful, and it looks like a place that you just want to hang out and relax. And sometimes on Star Trek, they go to worlds that have that feel, that are very welcoming and inviting and welcome nature in. And then other times, it's usually the bad guys who live in like these stark, sterile, hyper futuristic. So it is a little strange that our glimpse of Starfleet in the 31st century, 31st, 32nd century, I forget where we are, 32nd century.
Second, yeah.
Yeah, is so bare and so minimal, because you think you also want to have a human element, like a natural element to it. But yeah, that might be a thing to talk about when we get there.
Well, it's the same with natural lighting. Natural lighting is one of the good things for people with autism, and also aspects of neurodiversity, where natural lighting tends to help them be able to do better. And then one of the worst things you can have is static lighting that can't be dimmed, because that can also depending on the light choices you do, send out glare and other things. So they're designing their sets in the 21st century, so they might be also using bulbs. What are they now? The fluorescent tubing.
Yeah.
Those can cause humming, and those actually can. My hearing is sensitive enough, thanks to my autism, that I can actually hear the humming of fluorescent lighting whenever I go places. So it'd be interesting to see. They're doing Star Trek Academy. It'd be really interesting to see what would, if they set designers understood neurodiversity a bit more, what would a neurodiversity friendly Starfleet Academy look like. And I've actually been going through a little bit, because I think this would make a good podcast, looking at the disability, neurodiversity in Star Trek. And just up to Voyager, there's about 50 episodes of content you can talk on of various things, because disability can be anything from a long-term to a short-term thing, and any in between, because in between. So you have a lot of options, like Year of Hell, which you guys covered, is a perfect example, where Tuvok goes blind for a certain amount of time. That's a disability, and it shows the issues that he's talking about dealing with his blindness. And then, Geordi's entire journey through Star Trek of having his visor and then getting his ocular implants, an example of that, of where that's a character has it throughout his entire run, even into Picard. So it's definitely a interesting thing you do. And even Tilly has aspects of some kind of disability issue they brought up, especially in the first season. So
indeed.
Interesting.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your comments tonight. We've only got less than 20 minutes left, so I'm going to jump over to our next couple of callers, and I appreciate it. We'll see you next time, I hope.
Fascinating.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, as always, for your contributions, Mark. Take care, and we'll see you in Discord as well. All right. Welcome to the show, John Arminio. John, I saw you very actively jumping on the whole James Bond chat. And Never Say Never Again is a mirror universe Bond film. So maybe if you join Mark's Bond sessions in Discord, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, what's on your mind tonight about Disco, about Jinaal?
Yeah. What you and Holly were saying earlier about, showing or telling, not showing. I think that's been my frustration with Discovery for probably its entire run. Even the conversations with Rayner, where we got Tilly telling him, you're just doing this because you're insecure about being demoted. Like, you're telling the audience what to feel. And it's not even telling the character what to feel. I feel like the show is reaching out to the audience, not giving us the benefit of the doubt, and telling us how we're supposed to react to each scene. And the fact that we also got Michael talking about connection, and we got Gray and Adira talking about connection. Like, it's just so much on the head that it's not allowing us, the audience, to take what we need from the show. Like, it's like, these are important themes, but I think if the show allowed us more room for interpretation, I think these discussions could bring out so much more from the episodes.
It's so funny that as you were saying that, I'm looking at my notes, And even though, the format of Mission Log Live is different from the format of Mission Log, but I'm kind of thinking ahead, in several years when we come back around to this episode, what are the morals, meanings, messages? And I wrote down for myself here, they hit you over the head with the theme of connections. And yes, that is a thread in the show. I felt like we didn't need somebody to come out and say it at the end, like, this story is all about connections. Because what I really liked, first of all, I would have liked to have just figured that out instead of being told to the audience, as you just said. By the way, Jane is saying, preach, John Arminio. So you have a fan there. But I thought that there were other very interesting threads happening that didn't need to hit you over the head. So I already talked about that final conversation that Burnham and Culber were having in the bar, and I wish we could have just ended there. I wish we just could have ended with the awe and wonder and mystery of the universe, and that being our way to exit out of the episode, because it was so profound. I also felt like just that little moment of Burnham trying to explain to Jinaal where they were in the stage of peace versus working for peace. Like, I thought that was really good stuff that just happens in a blink of an eye. And since you mentioned Tilly and Rayner, to me, it was a lot less necessary for Tilly to spell out, here's why you're acting the way you are, than this other moment that happens in the bar later when he says leadership and friendship are two different beasts. And then she comes back with, look, this is the way we work around here, and that, respect is a two-way street. I thought that was a much more realistic conversation to have, to let us figure it out instead of spelling out who this guy is.
And even Rayner has to explain his whole methodology of the 20 words or less. It's like no, we should have been able to interpret that from the the moments that those characters chose. And I think even that sequence speaks to what we were talking about maybe last week or the week before, how all those bridge crew characters we know nothing about.
I thought that when they started coming in, I was like, oh, this is sort of what people asked for.
In season 5,
seconds
each.
And I was like, I don't know if this is the format that we would have preferred this to be in, but at least they gave us something.
I would have loved an episode about saurian egg hatching.
Yeah.
I love Linus.
Like, what a curveball.
I love Linus so much.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He's so great. And we didn't get Owo. Like, Tilly says, I'll go get Owo, and then we just don't see her. Like, it was very strange. Yeah. Anyway, we got a couple more people waiting. John, any other additional or final thought to leave us with?
I feel like the writers have never talked to a teenager before. Because I've never seen two teenagers break up with such calm solemnity.
Oh, my note on that is Adira Gray breakup was the least salacious thing ever.
Yeah. I wanted Sturm and Drang and tears.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to be, by that, we're supposed to be a little bit less dramatic, I guess. As a species.
But then it would have contrasted nicely with the Saru apology that ended. Like,
here's a great representation of relationships, and here's a bad.
Yeah, right. God, there was some note that we did ages ago, I think on the Trek files, where Gene had this problem with Wesley having some sort of, and I don't think it ever got filmed, but it was like having some emotional outburst about either reference to his father or maybe potentially losing his mother or whatever. It was like, no, in the 24th century, we're beyond that. I'm like, you're talking about a child losing a parent. Like, no, we don't just evolve out of that in a couple of 100 years, nor should we ever. So, yeah, a little strange. John, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right. And let's jump over to Alan. Alan, what is up? All the way
from the lower decks.
Cerritos. Yeah. You can
What's
do
to
it.
say?
You can do it.
Hello, John and Holly. It's great to see you again for another fantastic discussion of Star Trek Discovery. Yay, woohoo, rah rah.
Very good.
Very good.
Yes,
Nicely done.
had to at least try.
I love it.
Yeah, it's very good.
So
Thoughts?
what what are you thinking?
Well, I was just I've been listening to the conversations as they've gone on, and I do sort of agree that it was a bit over the top maybe with the speech at the end that Gray gives. But I think that seems to be like the message that the writers wanted to nail home, and I guess it was important that they had to be fairly didactic about it, but I guess we'll see how things go. But I think it's sort of like, in a way, it feels like a bit of the whole purpose of this quest, though, is this connection and relationship building.
It's very, maybe it's the friends we made along the way.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. The power to control life itself is the friends we met along the way. But specifically, first of all, when Brandon was on, you were talking about, why clues, what could be next. Something that strikes me about the two things that they've had to do so far. In the chase, the clues to solve the riddle, to bring the message from the progenitors out, was a collection of things hidden in our DNA, and you had to put all of the DNA pieces together to activate the technology that created the message. So far, we've had two pieces of this puzzle that we've had to find, and the key to the first one was not only understanding Romulan poetry, but understanding the customs that come with entering their house. For the second piece, you have to actually participate in a Trill host ceremony. These are clues to the puzzle that are being woven into the cultures of these different races.
Huh.
So, when you talk about what's next, could it be a book report? Maybe. I mean, we've never met the Zen Kathy before, so who can say? I'm expecting one of the pieces to be in a Ferengi pawn shop.
I was literally just thinking something about the Ferengi.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But yeah,
Wow.
that's kind of like the big revelation that I had this week. Also, it seems like, again, getting back to the hammering home of the message of connection, something that I've always heard is that there's a difference between hearing and listening. Well, I think the show is taking it a couple of steps further. There's a difference between hearing and listening. There's a difference between listening and understanding or comprehending. And then there's a difference between comprehension and actually understanding and making that connection. That's the thing. Rayner hears all the things that people have said, and he can spit out what the various things, and he's even kind of come to an understanding about these people about it. But then you have to actually go to the next step and engage with them on these things.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Absolutely.
I hope that makes sense.
It totally does. Yeah, you nailed exactly what Rayner's problem was there, but how that relates to the overall story arc. And
he's just regurgitating facts that gave him a little bit of insight, but there's still no connection.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he even says something like, was it Bryce that went first? Bryce could be he's got a love of starship design. He could use that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, that's good. And it's good that you can kind of like pinpoint that as one of his strengths, but you can use that information yourself to get the best out of him.
Yeah.
What are you going to do that?
Yeah. There you go.
So
Well, Alan, I hate to cut it short. We got a couple more people that I really want to get to
No worries.
before we say goodnight to everyone. So thank you, as always. A pleasure.
Absolutely.
And we'll do it again.
Hey, we reached, John. Holly, it's great.
We reached. All right. Take care, my friend. Till next time.
Have a good one. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right. And we've got Tim next. Tim, how's it going? And what's on your mind tonight? That is a huge computer behind you.
Yeah, I was like, I like
Wow.
looking at
That
people's
is
backgrounds.
just a massive computer.
It is an enormous computer, John and Holly, and it is revealing the secrets of transparent aluminum to all of your viewers.
Oh, I was like, that's the Apple computer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hello, computer. Nice.
Millions of dollars available to anyone who screen captures that.
That's so
not
generous
available
of you. Yeah,
anywhere
good
else.
for you.
It's great to be back on Mission Log Live, a
Good to have
Roddenberry
you back.
Star Trek podcast. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Can I share just I know we're short on time. Can I share a very quick anecdote before
Please.
I share? When I sit down to watch an episode of Star Trek, a new episode, I always invite my wife, who does not typically watch Star Trek, to join me. And the question she always asks is this the one with Anson Mount? And usually I have to say no. Sometimes I can say yes. But with Discovery, I can say, well, this was the one with Anson Mount.
Yeah.
So Jinaal airs this week. I tell her maybe we'll get a flashback or something with Anson Mount. So she sits down. We start watching the episode. Within 3 minutes, it's clear we're not going to get a flashback with Anson Mount. So when this happens, she takes her phone out and she gets on Instagram and she browses Anson Mount's Instagram stories.
As one does. Yeah.
And I should point out, this has happened 17 times. And it occurred to me, watching Jinaal, I think I'm in a love triangle with Anson Mount and my wife. And I'm losing very badly in the love triangle.
You are. I'm sorry that I came to you now, but yes.
I don't know if we need to tell him so that he can make an informed decision about what to do. We can workshop that. I don't know, but
we know people. I'm sure that some conclusion can be reached. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Anything you can do for me.
You're welcome.
As far as Jinaal goes, I watch Discovery for two reasons. I love the production values of Discovery. It is incredible to see expensive-looking Star Trek, and I love the cast. I think this is a wonderfully diverse, talented cast. Wilson Cruz was amazing this week, outstanding. What I do not watch Discovery for is plot logic, and this quest is very flimsy. I am struggling with it tremendously. What if Discovery had showed up like 3 weeks before these space dragons laid their eggs? Well, then what happens? Or what if Jinaal had died in a shuttlecraft accident 200 years prior? Well, what happens then? The quest is just dead at that point.
Yeah, if Bix wasn't even around anymore.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What if Discovery blows it on stage 4 of the quest, and now it's dead? They've burnt the first 3 clues. What if the Kazon want to take a crack at this in 50 years? It's done. So was this quest intended to just be done one time? And if the first people don't figure it out, well, it's just dead. And I can't stop obsessing over that. It seems ill-conceived.
I can't disagree with you there. It seems like there aren't good contingencies to not do it the way they want you to do it. But 800 years is a long, long time, especially if you take Jinaal's word for it that, okay, they were still just kind of waiting for somebody worthy to come along and do this. It seems like a whole lot of non-worthy people could get to it, or maybe the worthy one doesn't come along for 1,000 years, or 2,000, or 5,000 years, or whatever, which again brings us back to the point, the technology is just somewhere over there. You just don't know exactly where until somebody stumbles across it. So I see where you're coming from. I really do. Yeah.
I think we just can't think too deeply about what's actually the logistics of this. We are not meant to think that closely about. The only other thing I wanted to mention is Jet Reno returned, and I don't think anyone has mentioned Jet Reno tonight. It was great to see her. I heard not enough Jet Reno. Will we get some more next week? I hope so.
She is great, and I have to point out that David Takechi in the chat said that she held back her words in the meeting with Rayner, so she's got at least 11 words in the bank that could be used at any time. So,
do you think she got her chips? I don't think she got her chips.
I don't think she did. I think she said that no chips, and she just got out of there. She was just like, yeah.
I'd be disappointed too.
Sure. Of course you would. Yeah. Well, I hope we get more. I feel like we will. Tim, a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you for your insights, and I hope we get to see you again soon. It has been a while, so come on back, all right?
Cheers.
Take care. All right. Rounding out the callers tonight, I do believe we have Cherie standing by. Oh, wait. Nope.
Wait.
Yes. Yes, we do have Cherie. All right. Fantastic. Cherie, welcome to the show. How's it going tonight? Oh.
Well.
No.
Well.
Yeah. Are you on? Okay.
No.
Muted at the moment. We're just gonna
muted.
We're gonna chat. We're gonna vamp. Holly, any other notes you didn't get to?
There we go.
Okay, we're gonna do 5 minutes on Sluggo Cola if you didn't interrupt us. So
yeah, that reminds me. My sister was about as mad about that the Ferengi didn't get any lines that I am mad about Fred.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing about Fred in this episode. We still
no.
But I keep reading though, and I think in our Discord even there's been a lot of discussion. People just assuming like, come on, it's an android, and in the Sung family, like they can't just bring him on and then him be gone forever and ever. So we still got 8 more episodes to go. That if I had to put money on it. Now I might lose, but if I had to put money on it, I would probably put money on a return of Fred, or a Fred-like being.
I hope you're right, John.
Okay.
I maybe I'm a pessimist, and I feel like I don't get the things that I want in the world, like a 6th season of Lower Decks.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts. Yeah.
I'm representing here.
Yes, as you should. Yeah.
But yeah. I want to echo what other people have said. I did love Wilson Cruz's performance. I was so glad he got the opportunity to do that. Unfortunately, conversely, I feel like I wish it had come either at a different time or been along with giving Adira more of a role, because when they were going to Trill, I was like, oh, awesome, because we never get to hear about the fact that Adira is there in a joined Trill.
Yeah, she's hosting Tall.
They're hosting Tall in their body, and they never talk about it, and it's just very frustrating.
Yeah.
And they still didn't really talk about it.
Not at all.
The only like big scene that we got with Adira is when they broke up with Gray.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And
but I do feel like there's going to be more with Adira in the next episode because of what happened with Maul.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean,
what do we think that device is? A tracker?
Yeah,
it's like a wiretap or something. And I agreed with you what you were saying about I feel like it's a lot of tell and not show about Maul and Locke being so good at what they do, but they don't show any of it. Like they've yet to show me anything compelling that they're anything more than the average. Like I don't think they're like more impressive than Book. I've seen Book do more impressive things. They haven't shown me them doing anything cool. They just are like, oh, they're so scary. They're so scary. We'll never find them. And it's like, okay, show that. Like,
And they've teased this thing twice now about her connection to Book, which better have a good payoff because, to make it a thing that now we've come back to a couple of times, I feel like, you can't just do that and just say like, oh, we're just creating a connection for the sake of creating a connection. It's actually got to play out in some meaningful way.
I have more hope we'll get something on that than I do have hope that we'll get Fred back.
Whoa! All right. Somebody in the chat said that maybe Jet Reno is working on Fred. Maybe that's the project.
That would be awesome. I also have a theory that the reason Jet Reno's character is so good. I heard an interview with Tig Notaro, and she was talking about how she's actually really bad at acting, and that the director had to sit on an apple box and feed her all her lines, and she's so embarrassed about it. And like she expected them to call her back the next day and be like, "I'm sorry, this is just isn't gonna work." And they're like, "Can you do like more seasons and stuff?" And she's like, what?
Wow. Wow.
And like she's actually not in it more by choice. Like she says people are always telling her, like, you should be a series regular, and she's like, I don't. She's happy with the role that she's got. But I think probably the reason her character is so good is maybe because I don't think she's bad at acting, but like I think she's acting as herself. Like, I think she's like stressed out and just ends up just giving her own personality into the role. And like Tig Notaro's personality is really cool. So like, I think that's what's happening. And that's why her character of the secondary bridge crew is the most interesting.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, she's wonderful. And hopefully we'll get more. So, look, we ran just a few minutes late, but sure, I want to give you the last word. Any final thoughts to wrap up our discussion of Jinaal tonight?
I did want to say that I liked Tarina and Saru's relationship as well, what other people have said, and that I just wish human fights were more like that. Like, you get in a fight with like somebody, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I was wrong," and they're like, "Okay."
Yeah.
I said, I understand that you get that. I see that you get that. And now we're done here.
It was lovely, wasn't it? It was really lovely.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Well said. Cherie, thank you so much. I hope we'll see you again soon. All right. Well, take care. Have a great night.
Have a good night.
Holly, hey, thank you for doing the show tonight. And obviously
Thanks for having me.
Well, of course. And you and Norm will be back next week. I look forward to listening to that. And with that said, Mission Log Live is produced by Roddenberry Entertainment. Technical production on Mission Log and Mission Log Live by the inscrutable Earl Green. Be sure to visit podcast.roddenberry.com for the latest from Roddenberry Podcasts. If you'd like to support Mission Log directly, you know what to do. Give us a look at patreon.com/Mission Log. Thank you to everyone who joined us live or later. Join Holly and Norman next week for Discovery.
This is a Roddenberry podcast. For more great podcasts, visit podcast.roddenberry.com.